So the Delaware Riverkeeper Network has been working to get the Atlantic sturgeon listed as an endangered species, but also to make sure that while that listing process has been moving forward, and now that we actually have the species listed, that the federal agencies actually implement the protections that listing is supposed to bring. And right now, the National Marine Fisheries Service and the Army Corps of Engineers are doing an abysmal job at implementing the Endangered Species Act when it comes to the Atlantic sturgeon of the Delaware River, a genetically unique population of Atlantic sturgeon found nowhere else on Earth but in our Delaware River. Dwarf wedge mussel is farther up in the river ecosystem. That is already listed as an endangered species, and there again the Delaware Riverkeeper Network has been working hard to make sure that the dwarf wedge mussel gets the level of protection it's entitled to under the Endangered Species Act. The flows coming out of the New York City reservoirs, water withdrawals that could accompany gas drilling and fracking, and pollution inputs that folks would like to see happen at times in the upper reaches of the Delaware River watershed. These all would impact the dwarf wedge mussel. They would also impact other species that are in the river. In a way, the dwarf wedge mussel is kind of that canary in the coal mine. There are sensitive species entitled to a high level of protection, and if the dwarf wedge mussel starts to decline, gets impacted by gas drilling, by New York City reservoir releases, then we know a lot of other things are going wrong too. Everything that happens in the upper reaches of the river impacts what happens in the estuary and bay. And in fact, the releases from the New York City reservoirs, how much water is coming down the river out of those reservoirs, and whether or not we allow billions of gallons of water to be extracted for gas drilling in the upper portions of the watershed would affect the dwarf wedge mussel way upriver, but also have an impact on the Atlantic sturgeon and other species that are down in the Delaware estuary and bay, because it would impact how far the salt line is allowed to come up the river, how much fresh water is coming down into that estuary ecosystem, which for the Atlantic sturgeon has a direct impact on how much area they have in order to spawn, in order to reproduce and procreate.